Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk Trackmania. I am your host TM Scotsman. I am joined this time by a chair and by Mr. Shorty, Mr. Tobias. We are having Turbo, who will be back just in a few short seconds. However, we are back with episode number 29. It is a pleasure to be joined by all my fellow hosts or fellow podcast partners, if we'll say it like that. I have the sun out today. I'm a happy man, and I've got two beautiful faces to join alongside me. So I hope everyone's ready for what it appears to be a few spicy topics, which we'll be having in front of us today. But the spiciest thing about today's podcast is the men I'm joined by. And first of all, we of course have Mr. LuckersTurbo joining us, and Shoy, the one and only Mr. Second himself. He's not second in the podcast screen just yet. That's we'll sort that out one day, not to worry, before everyone comes in and shouts at us again. But gentlemen, how are you both doing? Turbo, I'll ask you, since don't want to be like you go. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic today. I'm doing fantastic. Weather wasn't as good as in your country, let's say it like that. We had some like almost hailing and rain and those things. It was pretty weird, but else I'm doing good. I mean, the drama is of course getting to the head from all of us, but else I'm doing pretty good. What about you, Toby? What about you, Shorty?
Yeah, similar. I mean, the weather is definitely complete garbage the last couple of days. It's always raining. It's like it's raining once an hour for a couple of minutes, and every single time I'm going outside it starts raining exactly at that time. I don't know why, but it's always happening. But otherwise, yeah, I mean I moved a couple 1 week ago now, and I can say I'm happy with everything. It's working great so far. And yeah,
he's finally got the bed on stream so we can judge it before we go live. Just to Turbo's picking up the act. That's 2 weeks in a row. I like it. But anyway, today we are back as episode number 29, and there has been a very specific topic which has been, over the past, I think, day or two, has really been on the lips of everyone else, and also I think will carry on to how the rest of the just get marks all over my glasses. Carry over to a few other incidents, or one specific other incident that happened just after last week's podcast. But also, I mean, I think it's important to address some other things as well this week. Some things we missed, catch up, things that I think are important to talk about, and see how we go from there. So, I mean, first things first. I know a few people are here, and I don't know, maybe expecting one of us to rant for half an hour about the ins and outs of this. We will get into a few of the details, but just to be clear in terms of how we're going to be approaching this subject, the subject regarding the accusations of cheating and the situation with riolu and Wirtual specifically, is we're not going to specifically talk about all the rest of the cheating allegations and the software usage and all the rest of that, because the fact of the matter is, at the moment, we don't know about it. With the reports not being released, there's not been a cross-analysation of the actual tool itself that we can then look at and discuss about or anything like that. So until all the information's out there, we'll rain check on it, and we'll discuss, as and when we know all the information, because we know, of course, both parties have some things that aren't currently released at the moment. However, what I think is very important to talk about in this kind of subject, and the subject itself being, of course, the riolu versus Wirtual social media kind of thing that's happening at the moment, I think is worthy to talk about still, in terms of a grand approach to what's happening socially at the moment, with the likes of some other kind of high-profile instance recently, with the likes of Mudda and Massa being involved in a Twitter spat recently. And it seems there's been a lot, 2 in 1 week almost for Trackmania. But at the very least, I mean, the first incident was resolved, at least out publicly without that much issue. However, it seems to be quite a stressful time in Trackmania at the moment. I mean, I want to get your guys' thoughts on not necessarily the specific situation of riolu and Wirtual, but I mean, the mood at the moment, I don't know, people seem to be high-strung. I mean, what do you think's happening, Shorty, if you've got any opinion on it at all?
I mean, maybe start with a small summary. Actually, I mean, I suppose most everyone knows what happened yesterday with riolu. Maybe not everyone really like so. Just a small summary of what actually happened yesterday. So riolu had a small stream, and he basically revealed that Wirtual is kind of accusing him to potentially be a cheater. Like, not really accusing him, but kind of at least. So let's put it like just having it like that. And he showed a lot of like DMs between him and Wirtual. That's pretty much what happened, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we know about it, as far as I know, right?
Yeah, that's all we know. And I mean, the situation kind of escalated with both parties discussing over a thing and try to get themselves their opinion in. So that is probably a fact that is right now very, very dangerous to have your opinion out. That's what Paul was saying. The report is not out yet. You know, the report will be released somewhere. You know, I'm not sure when the exact release date is. But,
End of May, I think they said.
End of May?
I think that's
end
what
of May.
said, yeah.
Okay, end of May. But you know, riolu made up his things, which is of course his point of view, and I can understand that. And now people are just being keyboard warriors over and over again. We have seen it on Twitter. We have seen a lot of like also posts from Wirtual there with the photo of riolu, and also from Wirtual being like standing there like being friends, you know. Mm-hmm. And you know, there was a lot of interaction there, so it was a bit, you know, it was very spicy there. And you were asking how I'm feeling with that. I mean, drama attracts people, that's what you say, but I'm not a fan of drama, and especially I'm not a fan of drama when two of my friends, like riolu is a good real life friend of mine, and also Wirtual, you know, I started streaming with him in 2017, and that things turn out like that now. Like, I don't want to give an opinion about that, you know, I don't want to disclose that here now, but just objectively that it turns out like that, that the two biggest parties in Trackmania, you can say that arguably, are having such a drama, is of course a good thing for attraction, but it can go very, very bad. What happened?
I just got the call from Erwin that I should potentially move my phone away, and I just wanted to throw it on my bed like I usually do at home, and yeah. Nothing
Okay, I was in such a TED talk and you're interrupting it with your phone drop.
Sorry.
But yeah, okay, so drama is good, but I think for the inner core of the Trackmania scene, it is bad, especially in the way how it has been communicated. So that is my opinion about that. So I have mixed feelings, and I'm a bit like, my heart is bleeding a bit because Wirtual and riolu are involved in that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can completely understand, and I think what's very important about us in this kind of situation is that this isn't the place where we're going to be taking sides about it. At least, certainly not at this stage when the information we know about it's extremely limited. What I think is the most important thing, which we were then going to address, which a lot of the community members called out both parties for, was just simply the conduct, the fact that this has reached the public space, how it's reached the public space, you know, what sort of tone's being used, you know, I wouldn't say strategies or anything like that, but what people are then using to get their point across, what they're then doing. You know, some of the things, like if I'll give you my simple first impression of this, I'm thinking, why the fuck is this public? You know, that was the very first impression I got from this. Why is this being made public? This is between two people. This is between Wirtual and riolu. I don't understand why it's specifically been made public. You know, I understand, like, from the sense of someone wanting to kind of jump ahead of an accusation. I get that part. I understand riolu's, you know, perhaps feeling threatened by the fact that there's an accusation going to be released in a report at some point at the end of May. I understand he's wanting to, you know, jump ahead of that. I think the rest of the kind of how this situation's been dealt with is not great. I mean, personally, I as many people don't like to see, you know, libraries of DMs being leaked, but I understand that's how he's wanted to get his point across. But I mean, as Shorty was kind of summing up there, what we've essentially seen is we've seen riolu come out, given his, well, not his entire, but a large part of his story. And then basically in response to it, I believe it was initially prompted the kind of public side of things, so to speak. Wirtual put up something about his name being banned in riolu's chat, if I do remember correctly. Then the photo, as you've then said there, and then kind of riolu then went and addressed it publicly. But as I've said, I think it's a bit ridiculous that this has reached the public standing in the first place. I would condemn both parties. I would condemn both Wirtual and riolu personally. I mean, I don't take this as representative of how you two guys feel. I would condemn Wirtual for having such, you know, a large audience. You know, I remember having conversations with, I think it was Phoebe, a lot about this, how we do have, you know, a platform with our social media, with our Twitch, and a lot of people can be influenced by the kind of messages we put out, by the kind of content we put out, and it can have very, you know, bad consequences in terms of that. You know, people are talking about how they feel like the community's been splitting apart at the seams, and I think both parties have really had a really big misstep in terms of this. I mean, Wirtual in terms of almost trying to make a meme out of the situation, you know, highlighting the fact that his name's been banned, you know, highlighting all of this with riolu, which I understand has, you know, created an issue, so to speak, outside of the actual cheating accusations, and then riolu going and making a very big public deal about it himself, using some very vulgar language on his stream in terms of it, which I understand, you know, I'm not necessarily then going to say that, you know, riolu's then going to be weaponizing his followers to go and fight back or some fucking ludicrous shit like this. But I mean, I think a lot of people have kind of got the feeling that this has just been massively mishandled by both parties. It's been a much bigger mess than what anyone needed, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I mean, I could have certainly, don't get me wrong, it's given us something to talk about, but I certainly could have done without this when, you know, I opened up Twitter yesterday.
So guys, again, we don't answer those questions. So Chip, why should I, why are you asking such questions? We are giving you guys an objective think-wise over this topic. We're not answering any questions that are some assumptions or anything. You know, we want to keep it as objective as possible. So please leave those questions somewhere else, but not here.
Yeah, so what I think, I don't actually think that strongly about it. Of course, you don't really want to see it happen. And ideally, you never want those things to be like public. But I don't really think any one of them particularly did anything that wrongly. I mean, yes, I didn't really like the sort of phrasing that Wirtual kind of sometimes used in the DMing. But overall, I think what what Wirtual is actually doing right now and trying to do, like trying to find cheaters, is definitely a good thing. And as long as we don't really know what he's publishing, we can't really say, yeah, he should have done this or that, and could have done this or that better, because we don't even know what he's planning right now. And from riolu's point of view, I can understand that you might have wanted to make it public before Wirtual making it public, because he didn't really have good explain it. Like, basically, he's trying to say that this cheated replay was driven not by himself, but was driven by someone else that potentially hacked his account. Which, if you heard that after he got accused by Wirtual, public, it would have been kind of weird. Yeah, but yes, okay, that might have been a cheated run, but I didn't drive it myself, but it was uploaded by my account. You know, it's kind of a weak defense, you know. So I can understand why he wanted to say that before. So it's actually it makes more sense to say when you already know it before. So it sounds more believable, that story. And in general, I don't actually think anything about it. I think both didn't handle it maybe perfectly, but it's not a big issue for me right now. It's not a big topic. It's just about some shady input stuff that could be basically anything. It's Trackmania, you know. Trackmania is weird in so many ways. this doesn't even have to be a big topic right now. It's just something people are trying to like maybe find some potential cheated runs. There isn't more to that, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
Like it's not really something you have to discuss at all in theory. Like,
I mean,
I
I
see what
think
you're
it's.
talking about, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
go
it's
ahead.
become bit like, as I said, just far too much of a messy situation, especially when, you know, no matter what kind of side of the argument you're on, I think both sides need to kind of recognize the fact that, as I said, not all the information is out yet. I mean, me personally, what I'm looking to see is what one thing I do like in terms of this, Donadigo, when he was confronted with the suggestion that maybe the tool was flawed or something like that, he's made it completely open source. He's been completely transparent in terms of any questions people have had about that. And, you know, so I can respect his approach to dealing with a lot of the well, not necessarily negativity, but a lot of the questions that I'm assuming are going to be coming his way and that are going to be, you know, kind of being, you know, motion for him to address, so to speak. So I'll be looking forward to see how, you know, if someone who actually knows what they're talking about takes a look at this and breaks it down. Because the thing is, or at least if that's done in this report or whatever it is that's released. But I mean, let me ask you guys this from a different kind of approach, so to speak. I mean, what a lot of people had problems with, and as I said, we're not going to go into, you know, what we think, oh, did he say this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the only thing, as I say, I would condemn is the type of language that's used in the tone and so on. But when, you know, we kind of got to saw a little bit about how the situation progressed through Wirtual being part of this. I don't know if it's just him and Donadigo, but some sort of drive to investigate old records to ensure they're legitimate or something like that. I mean, we've seen how that's kind of developed in terms of that. A lot of people have kind of reacted very negatively in terms of that, almost as if it's looking like it's a bit of a publicity stunt. Almost that seems to be what some people are kind of getting at. Like, oh, the drama creates views, you know, he's just doing this for a video and stuff like that. I mean, what do you guys kind of think of that on the basis of the situation, that's the kind of, at least a substantial amount of people's thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a good point, though. It's a good point. I mean, but those are only assumptions. You know, you don't know what that is, and it's you have to be very careful with that. Also, to say, yeah, you know, now this looks better, that looks better. Wirtual, in his point of view, has its point. He has points that to him are valid in his point of view. That's very important, guys. In his point of view, it's the point that he's getting, and there he thinks that he is on the right side. Why he's doing it, to a completely objective, why he's doing it, we don't know. We don't know it. Riolu felt attacked by that, which I can understand, you know, in this regard, but not sure how I would have handled it if I would go to the public or not. But we don't know what the backstory behind that is. We have no idea, and I think just trying to interpretate something in there is very, very dangerous, and we should just wait until both parties have revealed it when everything comes out. So that's my opinion about that. I can understand why people are thinking like that. Conspiracies and theories are always very interesting, as well as dramas, but we don't know it. Certainly, we don't know it.
No, I'm very glad you say that, because at the moment, as we said, it is assumptions. And I mean, I hope that answers some of the questions people have in terms of the fact that, you know, at the moment, a lot of, like, of course, riolu and Wirtual know their own sides of the stories, but a large part of people are outside of that circle. A large part of people don't know what's going on. You know, they might like to assume what's going on based upon what they've seen, but regardless of which party it is it's coming from, as we said, not all the information has been released yet at the moment, as we said. Now, it does put a lot of kind of, it does, of course, put both of them in a little bit of a weird situation. But I mean, something that I personally don't really like as much. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, it's almost like it's like when you see two social media personalities clashing or something like that. I mean, I see it a lot when you get like people like Richard Lewis, and then, you know, his fanboys go against some other fanboys, and then they clash, and it's a big Twitter drama or something like that. One thing I personally don't like about a lot of this situation is that it just seems to be that this is like, you know, people have just saw drama and then just all ran into it. Like, there's just, you know, everyone's wanting to say their piece, everyone's wanting to say something, everyone's wanting to be a part of it, you know, putting up memes, they're talking about it in every single Discord you can see, when this really doesn't matter to anyone, you know, apart from Wirtual or riolu, which was why, for you know, what I initially said is I don't understand why. I don't really like the fact that this has been made public. But I mean, do you guys kind of look at it the same way in the sense that it's just been massively overblown and it should have been kept private? Or, you know, do you guys feel it was a bit more appropriate that, you know, someone takes a little bit of a kind of public stance to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Turbo already said, like, people just like drama, and especially, I think you guys, like, everyone knows that Twitter isn't the perfect platform for, like, good discussions. Like, Twitter is basically the worst platform ever for proper discussions. So yeah. I think, and for Trackmania, it's actually pretty good, I think, but outside of Trackmania, Twitter is, like, the worst for that, maybe. And in general, I don't know how you think about it. I didn't like check Twitter for the whole time now, and yes, Wirtual did like 2 posts, but overall, I don't think it got to that big of a problem. I mean, yeah, people like drama, and people always think, yeah, I love riolu, and all of a sudden, like, whatever riolu says is definitely right, or people just like Wirtual and just try to defend him without even, like, people just are quick to jump to conclusions without any evidence whatsoever. And like I already said before, it's not a big deal. Like, what riolu did was just a small stream that explained the current situation, and I'm just waiting for what Wirtual is like posting now at the end of this month. And other than that, there's nothing to discuss right now.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to actually have a drama about, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so as well, and that's a good point, because riolu just explains the situation from his point of view, and of course he is biased in that, in his opinion, because you cannot say, okay, yeah, you know, this happened, I don't care about it, because this is really affecting him, you know, those assumptions. And if someone is with a tone of words is like approaching you that way, and you really feel like pressurized, you know, that is something that you should not like tolerate in this regard. So that is my opinion about that. And I think that of course, yeah, going to the public there was maybe not the right approach, but we don't know what was behind the curtain. We don't know that. We don't know what happened behind there. And this is again an assumption, but we don't know what else they have written. We don't know what happened there in general, if they tried something, you know, and that is always a very, very dangerous thing. And I think that riolu did really carefully think about this decision of going to the public with that, and also sufficiently prepared that, because he didn't stream Cup of the Day. He was preparing, and you could really, like, it was just a talk. I think, I would have been nervous with that, of course, because it's a very harsh topic, and usually he is also a very, very like calm guy, and not like in favor of like doing those things. So I think that it is a thing that maybe it is a result from the things that we didn't get to know.
I mean, I suppose some people kind of looked at this a little bit that, you know, shall we say, a little bit more of the public bust-ups are a little bit of a result of the fact that the Trackmania community is growing, and it's expanding and things like that. And you do have people who will have, very strong opinions or anything else like the rest of it. And, eventually, some people are going to clash, and that is the way it is. I mean, I can only hope that at least there is some positives you can take from this. I mean, I'm not the kind of person to say, oh, cool, it's drama, so that means we're going to get more interest, or that, you know, there's no such thing as bad publicity or anything else like the rest of that. But I mean, I just don't really see many positives we can really take from this. I mean, something that this reminds me of, I suppose you two, maybe, I don't know, Turbo, if you were as involved in the scene around these kind of times, but maybe Shorty will remember, and some of the boomers in the chat. I see you rocks on, Axel Alex. So one thing that this kind of reminds me of a little bit in terms of a divide is when you used to have the kind of, shall we say, the Frostpool side of things, and you used to have like the Bergie side of things kind of thing. You used to have two parties who were, you know, very much against each other in terms of their opinion in some cases, and you did have some people who were you know, latching on to someone's point of view for the sake of someone else, you know, against someone else's point of view for the sake of someone who they enjoy watching, or someone who they enjoy being involved in, or something like that. And I think we've seen from that it's never really a positive thing that comes out of it. I mean, it's never, I mean, like, we kind of look back on it, like, when we look back on something like that, is, you know, I can't believe, you know, so many people had problems with each other for the sake of such things, you know. So I hope going forward that we can see some sort of reasonable conclusion from this. You know, I think it's a little bit too early to speculate on how it is going to get resolved. I mean, I saw someone was, you know, asking whether we think Nadeel's going to get involved in it or anything like that. I mean, regardless of what the result's going to be, I think it is too early to speculate, because, I mean, what's his name? Wirtual talked about getting so many other people involved with, like, MX, Nadeo, blah, blah, blah. All these other kind of groups of people involved. You know, we as we said, we don't know all the issues that have been put out there, what any solutions have been presented, any conclusions that anyone's came to. I think Mania Exchange released a statement earlier today saying that they'd been consulted about it and they hadn't really reached any conclusions either. So I think what's best for this kind of topic at the moment is just a little bit of a rain check. You know, we'll check in with it a little bit later on, so to speak. You know, we'll check in with it in a week or two, see when we get any kind of updates. Because, I mean, I'd imagine with a public spat for this, it's either going to end very quickly through some form of apology, or, you know, some form of public statement kind of drawing a line under the matter, or it's going to be dragged out. You know, we're going to see more drama, we're going to see more of a mess. But the main thing is for this is, if I could kind of put to both of these kind of people, if I was to kind of, you know, put out a message for this, and something that was, you know, sent to me quite a while ago through a lot of the kind of things that had happened, which I do agree with, is that, well, I understand these individuals have thought very carefully about what they've been saying and things like that. The tone and how things have came across, the approach which has been taken to some of these matters that are being dealt with. These guys need to remember that these are people that have a lot of impressionable people in their communities, people who are going to instigate a Twitter war. They're going to go and try and shit on other people. They're going to jump into other people's chats and try and harass them. I would implore just for, you know, a little bit more sense when dealing with these sort of situations in future, you know, so that we can handle these sort of spats privately, so that we can not have issues such as this going forward. I think it is really a needless issue. I think it's something that's been, instead of being a point of interest for a lot of people, I think it's been a little bit of a point of embarrassment. Like, you know, you wouldn't want to draw people into Trackmania, draw them into a Discord or a Twitter feed, and then see all of this shit that's going on. I mean, I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts of it at the moment, but that's my kind of final thoughts, at least, as we said, until we know more.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised by that, and that dragging it into public is never a good thing, because it can escalate. We have seen it, and we don't know how much this will still develop. We are still waiting for the statement from Wirtual, if there is one, but I think it's inevitable that this will happen. Also, riolu didn't stream today because of those incidents. You know, we have seen a lot of, like, even trash talk on his Discord, and also things went personal, which was, like, not a good thing. So that is not good. You know, I mean, of course, it is it is going up. People are provocating, but you should never like insult or do something like that. And also, his Discord is now like being closed in the stream talk section. I was seeing the last bits of it just before a couple of days. It is sad to see that, it's just sad to see that people are insulting and just don't wait for the other conclusion that will come off. We should just wait, chill a bit. And also as a streamer, you were mentioning one thing as a streamer, and that's also like a thing that a lot of people didn't know, because riolu banned Wirtual, the word Wirtual in the chat. Wirtual was taking it offensively because of this backstory that they've had with all those conversations, with the assumptions and all those things. But in some point, I can understand that because, all people, like, let's say I'm uploading a short video, like, and it goes viral with 200,000 views. I had one. Like, every second comment is like, yeah, Wirtual is doing this video about this, blah, blah, blah. It's getting a bit annoying over the time. So I can understand that decision, banning that word, or just make people aware of that they do not use that word anymore or not that often. And if they don't understand that, then yeah, I understand that. What do you think about that? Is that a harsh opinion from my side? Also, maybe from my side as a content creator who's a bit more active. What do you think about that? Because I think it's a harsh attitude from me, but it can get annoying if you always like see, okay, yeah, Wirtual is doing this and blah, and maybe also in the stream chat. What do you think about that?
I mean, like, here's the way I look at it, right? I've kind of a harsh opinion of it, I feel, as well, but more from the other side, is I think that while a lot of them may not either realize or be as appreciative towards it, Wirtual, through his efforts, through his own aspirations in content creation, has spilled over quite significantly into interest for the rest of Trackmania. That counts for riolu's channel, that counts for Spam's channel, that counts for your channel, not, I suppose, my channel, if you'll count, the once fucking yearly stream I do. But, the thing is well, that turns into YouTube. Someone clicks on Wirtual's videos, they'll see recommended Trackmania videos. Trackmania videos will be more likely to come up as a result of, a lot of the efforts Wirtual's done and how it's kind of caught on and the rest of that. And the way I kind of look at that is they do have Wirtual to thank for the fact that they've got an increased amount of interest. And that's resulted in an increased amount of revenue. That's resulted in an increased amount of followers, an increased amount of exposure, both social media in terms of, Twitter, or fucking, I don't know, TikTok, whatever the young kids use these days, or, and Twitch followers and all the rest of that. And while I understand it can get a bit frustrating when people are coming to this being like, people are talking about Wirtual all the time in my chat or all the rest of that. Like, whatever. The guy hasn't done anything specifically to you except indirectly assisted you. So I don't really see much of a point of making drama about the fact that people ask a lot of questions about him. I mean, like, for example, people might come in and ask you a lot of questions in your stream about what riolu is doing because they know you're very well connected with riolu.
Yeah.
That doesn't need to be a problem.
It can get annoying as well because if you get that all the time, over and over and over again, I'm friend with both of those parties. I just wanna, okay, hello. I just wanna get that straight again, But it can get really annoying. Of course, I'm still answering it after the 10th time, but you see it 100 times, even 1,000 times, like in this magnitude that riolu just has. It is nothing compared to me. And if I find that like not annoying, but like I'm like, okay, the next comment about that, I'm just taking it. And of course, I'm grateful. The points that you mentioned are good, but in this magnitude. That's what I'm talking about, that riolu had or has in his stream. I can definitely understand that it can get annoying, That's my point. And then, of course, Wirtual is just taking it. Oh, yeah, he banned me because of that. And then, like, the background things come out like that with the talk.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, without sounding... I don't like to kind of sound too judgmental in terms of that. It's definitely being judgmental is not my kind of intention and how I kind of approach this, but I mean, we think of how the Trackmania kind of the Twitch scene was before we really had a big rise within the YouTube side of things, which then concurrently came into a big rise in the Twitch side of things, is it has resulted in not just a nominal, like say an extra, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40 people. It's resulted in hundreds of people coming over. In some cases, I mean, if you look at Wirtual Stream went from, you know, he got into partners application about, I don't know, a year and a half ago, something like that, I want to say, maybe 2 years ago, to now being regularly within the thousands of viewers. You know, that has spilled over a lot into other people's channels. I mean, I look at people's subscription counts now, and I think 2 years ago, they wouldn't even get fucking remotely close to that. You know, and I think that as a result of the increased exposure of what Trackmania is doing, it's a case of whether you look at it from the sense of, I understand some people are saying, you know, they don't owe Wirtual anything, even though Wirtual has done this sort of thing. And I do kind of agree with that in some sort of sense. But also I think, you know, like when someone has inadvertently resulted in you getting, you know, a big increase in exposure and you know, revenue, I think that it's, I don't really look too favourably upon people who then kind of shut down that and, like, you know, when it's on my stream, you need to kind of be talking about me. Not that, of course, that's the specific thing they're going for, that you can't really talk about any other streamers on someone's stream. But I mean, I think that by and large, people would always talk about Carl Jr. and spam stream, for example. There's a lot of other examples you can use of this, and it's. I really do kind of look at that a little bit cynically when I do see people are. It looks like I'm getting fucking absorbed by the sun here. Like, I don't know.
You're shining brightly.
Here. I'm shining brightly. I'll sort that out in a second. But yeah, I mean, I do look upon it a bit negatively. You know, I don't really like the fact about banning mention of someone else. You know, I understand the frustration side of things, but. I mean, have you got any thoughts on it, Shorty? Will I prevent myself from being burnt to a crisp?
I think I'm actually in the middle between you two, because I can understand both things. Because, like, if I would stream, well, if I would imagine myself to stream, I would definitely want the stream to be about myself and not about someone else. Of course, you want to allow people to talk about whatever they want, but at some point you have to moderate your own chat, right? So you're also moderating your chat to behave in a certain way. And after some time, it sure can get annoying if your chat is always talking, because, I mean, yes, that's how it is. And of course, for that Wirtual is bringing you the... Ultimately, I think what you want to, like, get viewers to like you and not talk about... Always only talk about Wirtual in a way. So you want... It's also annoying for the viewers that actually are there for you. Like, I think the most people that ask those questions are like the new people, and of course you want to get those new people to stay in your chat. But more than that, you probably want to keep your main viewers, and the main viewers are probably getting also annoyed by always reading Wirtual. I mean, obviously, ideally you would want to resolve that issue without getting the word, but. I can understand both ways. It doesn't have to, I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be something new, and yeah, it's just what it is, I guess. I mean, riolu made the decision. I'm not sure how he thinks about it now, if he's happy about the decision or not, but I mean, at least you can say he achieved what he wanted to achieve with that, so no one is talking about Wirtual in his chat anymore. If that's good or not, you can debate about that, but he definitely achieved his short-term goal with that, and I think after some time, when people realize that maybe they are, like, you get people to think about it as well in some way, and after some time maybe you can like revert the change, like make the word allow the word again, and things have quietened down a bit, and the chat can just go on normal without any words being banned.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some good points in the chat, actually. Leo was bringing up banning Wirtual would be a non-point if the drama didn't exist, and I think I'm going par with that. That is a good point. And yeah, I mean, it's your stream, and I mean, you said it, Paul, that we can be grateful, and I'm super grateful. You know, you get a lot of influence from Wirtual, you know, but there is also like you. you as a person, you as a streamer. And I think that is something that Shorty just mentioned. I think people can get really, or like not annoyed, but they can be like, okay, yeah, he's talking about that again. You know, it can get repetitive. And but on the other hand, I mean, going to your side again, Paul, it is like people find way around that. They're just calling him Wirtual with 2 V's, Wirtual with a censored mark with a star or something, Verts, you know, something like that, Mufat, you know, those things. And there are ways around that. And this can also be very provocative across the streamer and the mod team, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just has kind of spilled over a little bit too much now. I would like to then kind of just put a line under it and hope that it would all kind of go away. But yeah, it's not. It doesn't look like that's going to be happening soon. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of really kind of summed up at the very least what I thought about it. I mean, what I like about it is that, you know, we can at least come into a situation like this and still be able to, you know, have some sort of neutral ground here. It feels like, you know, when you were looking online, it's like one party's trashing the other party, and that's just kind of how the whole thing was going, which was quite disappointing. But I mean, of course, this week I think is important. I mean, we have spent fucking 40 minutes talking about something that should never have been an issue in the first place, but something I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about, something that actually, you know, we didn't actually get to talk a lot about last week, which has been a really big part of Trackmania over the past few months, and something we did miss out in talking about. And actually, we meant to talk about, I don't know if you'll remember this, Turbo, before we stopped a million billion years ago, and it is matchmaking.
Wee.
So we actually, I remember this, before we stopped for TMGL, matchmaking was just fresh out. We're like, okay, this week we're going to talk about, or when we come back, we'll talk about matchmaking. You know, it's going on to the new campaign. We never came back. You know, we're like, fuck you guys. You know, we're going. Anyway, so yeah, of course, you guys have, I suppose, Turbo, you've been significantly more active than myself in terms of matchmaking. Could you give our dearest viewers a little bit of an overview of how this matchmaking has then came about, and give a little run through of what it is exactly?
Matchmaking is fun. I can say that. Matchmaking is fun. So
done. Matchmaking is fun.
So first of all, it was released out of the blue. It was released out of the blue, and I was playing a lot of matchmaking together or against Shorty when the friend system was not in there. It's played in a 3v3 format on the official campaign maps, and it is just very good. So you either win or lose. You play in a best of 9. Also, a draw is possible. But yeah, what else? What should I explain? I think almost anyone knows in the chat what matchmaking is about. Or you mean like the development, or how the experience is, or what exactly?
Well, I mean, just to kind of get out the basics of it, and I suppose you can kind of go a little bit more into how it's evolved in a kind of sense of that. It's basically a 3v3 matchmaking camp, or ladder, so to speak, on the campaign maps. It's been separated into different ranks. It's been separated, you know, each rank has, I think, 3 levels within it. And that kind of does decide, of course, largely who you get ranked against. But, I mean, what's the kind of experience been like actually playing it, you know, because I understand you've been playing it a lot in your stream from kind of start to finish. You know, a lot of people were kind of like, when, especially from the competitive community, were like, oh, matchmaking's going to get released, it's going to be on Nidio maps or whatever, play the game again, I'm going to make it a twit longer or some shit like that. But what's been your kind of impression of matchmaking so far, and has there been any developments about it that you've kind of you think are especially interesting to point out?
Yeah, there was a tremendous development. So at the beginning, you were finding like 10 million matches. You were finding instantly a match. I was playing together with Shorty at the beginning of the matchmaking series. It was so much fun. So it was like you rediscovered the game, and that was just such a great thing. Also, if you, as it was on the official campaign maps, I think it was a good thing, because with that, it was more casual in this way. Not that much try-hard in there. But man, it was so much fun. And then just some interesting decisions were coming in, because people were climbing, I think, too fast with like the system being it. And I think they reset it to like that everyone is at 3,000 points. So like, let's say, I think Scrappy was at 4,000 points or something, which is a very high rank. You know, it's Master 3 or something, and the highest rank is at 5,000, and you got like 40 points per win if you were MVP. So also the top fragger in your team. And they reset it to 3,000 points and have done a massive point deduction there. So I think you only got like 20 points per win as an MVP, and also lost a lot of points when you lost the game. So players could not really climb, and also it was hard for them to find matches afterwards. And a lot of people actually didn't play matchmaking because they were discouraged by that. But now we have the interesting thing that the buddy system was coming out. So just after that deduction, we didn't really find a lot of matches, and I was also not playing matchmaking anymore. But now with the buddy system that you can queue up with your teammates or with someone else you want to play with, it is so much more fun, because now it has become a more vivid again. Players seem to play it more, and that is just super great. So that's the evolvement of the game, of the matchmaking thingy.
Mm-hmm. And Shorty, what would you how would you describe matchmaking's influence on the game since it's came out? Because I mean, as Turbo said, it did kind of come out of nowhere.
I mean, the main influence is definitely that it gives a lot of casual players, or a lot of players that like want to dive into more competitive sort of speaking gameplay. It's a very good entry point, because like you have right now Cup of the Day, which is it's a good format, but it's something you don't really play in any sort of real matchmaking scenario in Trackmania. So you don't really have like knockout tournaments with teams or something like that. It just doesn't happen, except Cup of the Day, obviously, which happens every single day. But other than that, it's something that definitely a fresh thing for a lot of players, for the new players in general, and definitely this season. At the beginning, I wasn't really that excited about the matchmaking. The maps, as you know, I'm a big fan of video maps. I just don't like the style of video maps, so just put it like that. And what you can definitely see is that now with the new with the new campaign, that it already improved a lot. Like the campaign maps are a lot more friendly for matchmaking, which is definitely a good thing.
Yeah,
I
mean,
sorry
I'd
about
certainly...
I can't do anything about it. I already like paid for the so it's gonna get better very soon.
As Phoebe says, we're experiencing a little shortage. Get out of here, Phoebe.
So we did only understand 50% of what you said. So that was a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, but we got a little...
Shorty is stuck for me.
Yeah, but we got the gist of it. I mean, one thing he was mentioning about how he felt about the Nadeo maps and kind of things, and I can't really have as much an opinion on this since I'll be honest, I've not really played matchmaking since it came out personally. As I said, I've been a little bit back from the game, but having played a little bit more, at least in some of the campaigns now that you've had for the buddy system, would you say, because I believe it was Chris had put there previously, Zephyr Chris, had put that he'd noticed an evolution in the maps to be a little bit more suited competitively as a result of the fact that, the matchmaking had been released, maps to be a little bit more suitable in rounds. And was that Shorty laughing because that was the exact same thing he was talking about there? No one realised.
No one
we'll never know anyway, so...
Yeah. Beep boop. But yeah, I mean, the maps, we had some really random maps in the first half, or in the first part of it.
Sure, he's just go to sleep. He's had enough.
Goodbye, Toby. Goodbye, okay. See ya. And I mean, now the maps they're really nice. Also with like the 01 remake, I really like this map more. But yeah, giving it a more competitive touch to it that you were talking about. I don't know, because the maps are so more different compared to the first map pool and or to the first campaign, and I really like them more. So I'm speaking about the winter campaign, and now of course we have the spring campaign, which is really good, to be honest. But being more competitive, I couldn't really answer that question because I think that is a very subjective point of view. But I think they're suiting matchmaking very well, the maps, because they're pretty multi-stylish.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, where does matchmaking move from here? I mean, as part of this podcast, of course, being brought to us by ESAC, which I should be fired for because I didn't mention that at the start. But ESAC, I believe, along with another organisation, did attempt to get matchmaking at least off the ground previously. I mean, is this something that you would see that could perhaps develop going forward, that there'll be more, matchmaking platforms going forward, perhaps for players that are more interested in, say, multi-style competitive maps or a more competitive map set overall? Or do you think that this is just meant to be a kind of intermediary between being a casual player and then being introduced in the competitive scene? What's your kind of opinion on that?
I think having a competitive type of that, of a matchmaking thingy, that would be really nice. But I'm not sure if like so many people would play it then. That is like the question that evoked in my head, because you have to learn those tracks, and of course if you play against someone who played this map maybe in a competition of ESAC, let's say like that, then of course it gets really hard to try and beat them. I think it is possible because we have the foundation in the game. I think it's also possible to create your own matchmaking, if I recall it correctly, that also people can queue there, or it would of course be possible to do that. But I'm not sure if players would play without any incentive and just for the sake of having fun, I'm not sure about that. I mean, do you think that this would work? Let's say like 45 seconds tech maps. Would there be enough sufficient players to play a matchmaking like that?
Well, one of my concerns immediately when when matchmaking came into this game is it felt like a kind of thing that we've had a lot of issues with, in the sense of Trackmania, where we've always had big ideas, but there's not necessarily been the player base to capitalize on it. Matchmaking, I was certainly hoping that a lot of casual players would get involved, and a lot of people have got involved in general. But I mean, with the competitive scene, especially if you isolate it to something like Tech, Dirt, or Full Speed, are very small communities on their own, and I don't believe would be able to sustain at least a matchmaking system. I mean, we've saw a lot of people complaining about the fact that on the higher elo echelons, that there is a lot of waiting time, and how long it takes to be able to get into a lobby. So I mean, I can understand in that kind of sense where it might not really work at the moment for other things, but it will be interesting to see if how the rise of matchmaking, if that perhaps then results in more interest from people who have maybe encountered the competitive side of this game of Trackmania through matchmaking, if that will then result in a leak over into the competitive side of things. I mean, Shorty, do you really see any of that happening? I mean, I understand you've been kind of more casually playing matchmaking recently. I mean, is there any people you've kind of picked up on that are starting to take things a little bit more seriously as a result, or you just kind of ploughing your way through it, getting second?
I mean, not really. There are definitely a lot of good players in matchmaking as well that are really good, and definitely also people that I never heard of before, which is more of the theme of the game in general. I think matchmaking is just one more option for players to enjoy themselves in the game. I mean, matchmaking might not be for everyone, but in general, I think it's definitely a good mode, and it's definitely something where you can improve a lot, and where you can also get a lot of skill which is needed for Trackmania. Like you can basically learn everything you need in the game in matchmaking probably right now.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely agree with that.
And I mean, I think this has come along. I mean, we spoke a little bit about it at the end of on last stream, if I do remember correctly, that we had a lot of issues with the kind of community mood towards Nadio, and I think a lot of the updates that have been made recently have really had a very positive impact. The matchmaking certainly been one of the most important ones, and the Cup of the Day being very, very important, and also very engaging for both streamers and communities in general. How do you guys feel about the mood of Trackmania in general? I mean, through people you encounter through your stream, if we're referencing you, Turbo, through public lobbies, Cup of the Days. What would you kind of if you were to put the finger on the pulse of the community, how would you kind of say it reads?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, not in the community that much anymore, Paul, which is unfortunate because I would love to do a cast with you together again at some point because you're a great guy and also very wholesome, you know. So boot up the stream more often, you know. That would be really cool. Just saying that. But yeah, I mean, it's been a ride at the moment, and also with all those competitions really rising, you know. Let's just take Cup of the Day. I think that's the best indicator. I think we had 1,000 players at the first Cup of the Day, give or take, and now we're at 3,000. We hit the all-time high with 3,300 players, and also I think events just getting more interest, and I think in general there are a lot more people interested in that game. So we are in that hype, and I think Nadeo is doing a great work of trying to do things correctly, but of course there's still some flaws that from my subjective standpoint are not that good. Let's just take the penalty or some other things, but of course a game cannot be perfect, but I think we're on a good way to like not eliminate those things, but to maybe get even more out of that. But I mean, one thing that really bothered me is that we had matchmaking coming in, and I think that was the most or the best time of Trackmania in the last 10 years that I've had when I played matchmaking. I felt like a kid again, rediscovering the game, competing, and really having fun on a casual level, you know, together with Cup of Day. But it was released, and then we destroyed the point system. Yeah, no one is playing, and it made for me the impression that no one really did, or that they didn't mind that too much. But then now with the party that you can queue up with your buddies or something, it makes the opposite point of view. But again, it was like a pretty close gap between that, because like 1 or 2 months ago that would have been too late, you know. But I think it's good how Trackmania is developing at the moment.
I mean, kind of had most of you short. Yeah, I mean, like in the months, I suppose you would say, in terms of the podcast, or you know, all the conversations you would end up having with people, we would always talk about what we wanted, you know. I wish we had matchmaking, I wish we had some sort of competition we could be playing, or you know, this or that. What do you think is now on the list? Is there any kind of things that you've seen a lot of people asking for, you'd still like to see in some form?
More dramas.
More drama, yeah, exactly. What kind of thing are you looking for next in Trackmania's sphere?
I mean, I think firstly, I definitely also have to agree with what you said. Trackmania is definitely moving in a good direction lately, and you can definitely see that Nadeo, after so many years, understood something that I think they didn't understand before about the community and about what we as a community would like to have in the game. Or maybe they had other priorities before, I don't know, but they are definitely like now working on things, and they are working on things that people want, unlike before, where they would like maybe invest one year of development time in Trackmania and release something that no one really wanted. And yeah, I don't know, but it's definitely not the case anymore with matchmaking and things like that. So I'm definitely very happy about that already. And I'm not really sure what the next thing is, actually. I mean, something that's bothering me since always, actually, since a lot of years already. I think you can you probably agree with that, Paul, because you already experienced it as well. I think the game's worst part right now is probably still the netcode, or like the overall performance of the game. I know there are some people that maybe have not really big problems, but there are so many people like me. You can see it with Scrappy, and in general, like the game isn't as smooth as I personally would like it to be, especially with a lot of people. And I think there's still room to grow. Like there are still possibilities. I think it can still be a lot better than what it is currently. That's what I would really like to see.
Yeah, Trackmania has definitely a lot of potential. I definitely agree with that, and also I can also agree with the netcode. There is so many things that like bothered me. Just take, I mean, what was the example? Maybe just having weird lag spikes. I mean, you can just say that weird lag spikes when someone joins, and this decides rounds, or just some one having weird internet. I had that with Rin, and all of a sudden he stands still, and he is 1 second behind because he just has a huge lag. And also, like, the things have, of course, they have become better from the Raider Cup onwards, where we had that spectating bug and all those things.
Couldn't get worse.
Yeah, of course, it couldn't go worse. But I think that they're also on a good way to that, because you cannot eliminate every issue with only one update or anything like that. I think they are trying to fix that, and I think that is a great point. So looking forward how they're gonna attack that, if they're gonna do a new netcode, because for me the netcode seems to be very messy and also based on Shootmania, if I recall it correctly.
Yes, it's Shootmania netcode basically. But I think they already redid a huge part of the netcode a couple of months ago. Like, if you remember, at the beginning of the game, you had this when you spectated, all other cars were 1 second behind your car.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when that update came, where they finally were able to revert that change, so the cars are actually where they are actually. I think they redid a huge part of the netcode with that update. I'm not sure I just hear that, but either way, I definitely agree. No matter how they do it, it would still be nice to see with less lag spikes and in general less laggy performance, because it's definitely a thing that can ruin a lot of rounds in theory, right? Those join lags are really dangerous, and the lag spikes you currently have on endurance races, those are definitely topics that can seem small, but they are really annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I don't really know what I would kind of look at and say this is what I want next, but let me give you a kind of envisioning of what I would like to be able to see possible in Trackmania. As I think now, with the game having its increased amount of exposure and increased amount of interest, this is a perfect time for some of the more diverse and certainly special events to be coming back into Trackmania. And the one I would plead for, I don't know what I need to sacrifice to make it possible, maybe Shorty, but one thing I would really look forward to, and maybe even push to Turbo as well, I'll do a solo podcast if I need to, is 24-hour races. I want 24-hour races back.
Yes.
Like long-term endurance races, which were organised fantastically by the DDE staff, and also, forgive me, I did not remember exactly who ran the Dirt 24-hour races, but I would love to see endurance races back, be it the 4-hour or 6-hour mixes they done, where it was more with competitive disciplines. You had 2 players on tech, 2 full speed, 2 dirt, or if it is just a 24-hour race, we have a full team of players on some sort of multi-style map. And I think that today's kind of situation of everyone being so kind of versatile almost in Trackmania, as a result of the different kind of competitions that there are nowadays, the campaigns and so on, I think it's the perfect time for something like that, in terms of being able to get a lot of participants and a lot of interest. I mean, I could only imagine the amount of people who would watch something like that, the kind of people that would be playing that, because a lot of your old competitive players always loved playing endurance races. Wally always came back for an endurance race, for example. He was always one of the best enduro players. I mean, I managed to get a team back, old players and all the rest of that. A lot of the old A&E guys come back and play it. So I would really, really love to see things like that come back again. And a lot of people have missed just endurance racing in general, having a lot of people playing in terms of just the weekly races we used to have previously, 150, 200 players in one server. I wouldn't know what specifically to fix to say, right, go and do that to make that possible. But as an eye test, that being possible and that then being done would represent a significant development or a significant move forward in terms of Trackmania. And I think that is something that I mean, when I was starting playing the game, the two things I really wanted to try competitively was TTCs and endurance races. That was the two things I really loved the idea of participating in, and I would really love to see back. But I mean, Shorty was more kind of based upon the kind of refining. That's what he wants to see. He wants to see things getting smoothed and all the rough edges kind of polished, so to speak. Is there any kind of big ideas you have, Turbo, for what you would like to see in the next kind of year or so, or are you kind of in the same camp with Shorty?
So first of all, I think that we have right now some sort of TTC that is taking place, organized by Wingo Beer, which is a great thing. I mean, it doesn't feel the same, kind of, but of course it should not be supposed to be a replica of this. It was a lot of fun when I participated in that. And I think, I mean, I also enjoyed, let's say, Spam's weekly races. I think
Weekly races.
Races. Oh, races.
Weekly races.
Weekly races that were on Saturday every time, or also on Sunday. I don't remember, but I think it's hard to realize them because there's so many competitions going on in Trackmania at the moment. I think with a 24-hour race could be good. Could be good, but I think what we are really lacking at the moment, and also Eric was stating that out, a LAN event. Dude, a LAN event. I'm dying for a LAN event right now. Really, that is like one thing that we are in dire need of in Trackmania. Let just be maybe players traveling there, and maybe just the organizers, and maybe a caster or something like that, or even the casters at home or something. But just something like that we get this atmosphere again. And yeah, what I'm really looking forward to is like some sort of community event that is next to some bigger LANs, that we just say maybe in Germany, like 100 or 200 players will meet at a point, or like will rent some place, and then there will be an event or 2 or 3 or 4 events there in versatile Trackmania titles and different incentives. That would be really cool. That would be a goal for me to kind of strive for, maybe even organizing that. But of course, it's a huge project. But like really more interaction in real life with LANs, that is like the thing that I would look forward to after the pandemic, of course.
Just imagine a Trackmania LAN, like just imagine it as big as the Gamers Assembly, but instead of having like 5 different games, of Trackmania being one of it, just having Trackmania like all this tournament for all the styles, a round space tournament, a time attack based tournament, everything, Valley, Canyon, TM2 Stadium, even TMNF and United Forever. Imagine having that just 1 week or 1 weekend full of Trackmania and everything.
Wicked.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see. I mean, it's always the kind of ideas where you're like, oh, I'd love to see if that happened. But there's a lot of things that are possible in Trackmania, which, you know, I mean, we kind of shown that. You know, I can't take credit for myself when, you know, you have had large amount of people even gathering, not even to play the game in our case. When we had the big meetup in Prague, you know, we had, I would say in total, close to 20 people from all completely different corners of the game. And I can imagine the amount of people who would come for something that was game related. I mean, we were talking about, what was it, Budapest this year or last year? I can't even remember now. And how that was going to be at the same time as the Magyar LAN. And, you know, how the Magyar LAN, you know, normally only has regional kind of Hungarian players, and then you would have, like, Nevermind going, you'd have myself going. Yeah, hello, Cuba Libre, hello, you know, he would be going. But, yeah, I mean, like, little things like this, I think, you know, the kind of impression I got with a lot of the community coming over is that, you know, coming together, is these sort of things are going to become more possible. You're going to have more kind of regional interest, regional meetups, even, you know, a lot of people coming internationally connected. And I mean, Shorty, before all of this happened, and I suppose back in the Trackmania 2 Stadium days, through the THE team you were part of, there was often quite a lot of meetups and just going to show what's possible. I seem to remember you guys always done one in a 24-hour race.
Yeah, at one point, I mean, always before already, Trackmania Heroes Revolve had like this one meetup every single year, like where we rented basically like a camping place with campfire and everything. I think we were like 30 people or something like that there every single year. And yeah, I mean, with the 24-hour race, we started renting something where most people, at least, I mean, I said he wasn't there. It wasn't meant to happen. Let's put it like that. And yeah, I think it was twice like that. And yeah, I mean, I think I never was there. Sadly, it wasn't possible for me, or at least it wouldn't have made sense in that time. But those are the events I think we all like, and those are the events we all want. Like Gamers Assembly is basically the same thing, because at least we always went to Gamers Assembly more for the people and less for the tournament itself. And those smaller LAN events are exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Shorty's going to bring his bowling ball to the next LAN event.
And walks through old Prague again. That was golden. But yeah, I mean, also for me, I think I said that someone else as well. The best memories of Trackmania are the memories. I mean, just think about that. I think was it Peck and Bren making that same mistake at that poll,
Yeah.
and we all watching that. I mean, this memory or this moment is like burned into my mind, and that was like that was the best Trackmania experience just in Prague. And I think that goes for a lot of people. If you meet those people, you always have a great time. You know, you have that similarity with Trackmania, but you always find other things to talk about. And I think we're just in need of that. I just stopped talking about that. I'm just getting sad about that. That's not taking place anymore right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, that it is just the kind of, like, I really do miss it. I mean, to think the last time I mean, all of my holidays have went with Trackmania people. I mean, I don't even need to say I'm lonely. You guys can all see it straight away. So don't you start, coming for me, TK. But anyway, I think it's really the one thing I enjoyed most about Trackmania in general was, what then became because of Trackmania, all the meetups that we had, all the LAN events and all that. And I just hope that going forward, of course, a lot more people get to experience that, get to experience what I would say are the most fun events, which are things like your endurance races, your 24-hour races. Cup of the Day, kind of being a pseudo replacement to TTC has, filled that gap with a very fun event, which is had a key change to make it very accessible, give a lot more people, a little bit of a, opportunity to have fun in it. So I think there's a lot more capacity. I mean, Trackmania is definitely, it's in an upswing in terms of the kind of opinion and mood I would feel of it. So I get the impression that there's definitely growing to do in terms of, capitalizing on what we now have, be that polishing, be that evolving. One thing that I saw is going to be coming up on that is what's it called? The new UI update is going to be coming out at some point. I seem to remember Hill has posted about that, so I'll be very interested to see more of that. So I think it's nice to be going into podcasts and coming out of podcasts in a good mood. I mean, not just saying like I'm depressed that I fucking hate, I'm so sad when I come onto podcasts. Trackmania doesn't make me happy. But no, like I just made a general. It felt like so long we talked before, and it was always bad things that were going on. There was always some sort of drama. There was always something going wrong. There was always something we weren't happy about, or we wanted to complain about, or anything else like that. And it's nice to have the opportunity to have things that are really interesting to talk about, but are still positive. That's at least my kind of takeaway of Trackmania in the recent times. I mean, I don't know if you guys are as optimistic as in the game and its future as I am.
I definitely am. I mean, I wanted to quit streaming at the end of last year, and yeah, you see where I am right now. So I'm very optimistic, and I also think it's a good thing. Also, like today, there's this drama going on, but we were coming back to this like substantial thing of Trackmania and why we all playing that. And I think that's something that we really forget in the days and years, why we actually doing that with all those witch hunt and and drama and stuff. But I mean, we're all somewhat friends, and that's a very important factor to consider. And we really forget that one really, really bad, or we would just forget that one. And I think we should, also think about the positive things that could be and that were, of course, in the past.
No, I disagree. I hate this game. I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, see ya. Goodbye.
Bye.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear that people are coming in here and not all the time complaining, because it wasn't just us, you know. Like there was a kind of common sentiment that people were a little bit dissatisfied, and you know. But yeah, it's nice to see that things are looking good. But I mean, it's also showing, you know, a sign of effort being well recognised. You know, people appreciate the things that Cup of the Day's done. People appreciate what Matchmaking's done. People appreciate that there's things for them to do in the game. You know, things for them to feel engaged in, no matter what kind of part of Trackmania you belong to. So I think it's been a lot of really important changes, and I'm very interested to see what's going to be happening going forward. You know, I know some people like Shorty and TK are just here for the drama and fucking the Jerry Springer side of Trackmania. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's that much else we can really go into in that. I mean, just a reminder for anyone, of course, hit us up on lines, either on Discord. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know who we are. I'd at least hope so by now. But yeah, I mean, check us out either on Discord, Twitch, or Twitter. And if you've got any questions about things we have spoken about, any things you would like for us to address, feel free to check us out, of course, individually. I mean, me primarily, I'll be coming to yourself through this for now. We'll see if Turbo can tempt me back, but it will be a high price, I'll tell you. But anyway, that's been it pretty much from me. I would remind you guys before we go, of course, the podcast, as always, is brought to you by the main man behind the screen, Erwin Weber, and as part of ESAC. So definitely like to thank him once again for a fantastic job, and also for spearheading ESAC's development, and welcome a few new people to ESAC as we did previously, of course. TBS DLR coming on to help out, of course. I'm Angel behind the scenes, General Offensive, Rave Out, of course, all doing big work for ESAC behind the scenes, and a big thanks to those guys. Much appreciated for all the work they're doing for ESAC, and looking forward to see how things develop going forward for ESAC. But if you do want to keep track of that, check out esac.gg. But I'm going to throw you in at the deep end, Shorty. That's us done for tonight if you want to send everyone to their beds.
Oh, all right. Is it already that late? I mean, to everyone that's a little bit younger, I hope you go straight to bed. Don't even think about staying awake. And everyone else that's a little bit older, have a drink together with. I highly recommend that. That's how you ought to end the night. And have a great one. See you next week. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So I also want to add something here. So before we're gonna go to the ending. So again, guys, make sure to
ruined everything.
No. I think that was good, but again, guys, don't forget who we are and like who you are and who the other persons are. You know, we're all human beings, and I think at this point we are forgetting at the moment a bit, and this is where all the witch hunt and all those drama is coming into place. You know, stay focused, as Masa said, but you know, just keep calm and just don't overreact to things, and just calm down, wait for the statement from Wirtual, and everything will be good. Okay, that's what I can say. Have a great one, and goodbye.
See you all later.
Imagine ending it with